vagina. What are we gonna talk about today? We're gonna talk about Fosta-Sesta. Do you know what Fosta-Sesta is? I'm gonna tell you. Fosta-Sesta is a controversial mashup bill. I sound really excited about it, but it's actually really bad. A mashup, like mashed potatoes and gravy. Or in this case, like mashed potatoes, or stomping on the right to free speech. Fosta, fight online sex trafficking act. That was the House bill. And Sesta, Stop Enabling Sex Trafficking Act. I remembered it that time. That's the Senate bill. Don't know about Fosta-Sesta? Well, buckle up, kids. This legislation was intended to curb sex trafficking, which would be great, but the language of the legislation is so loosely worded that it leaves a lot of room for interpretation. And I don't mean loose as a cute pun because this bill was about sex. That would be too easy. There have already been a lot of serious consequences, including ways in which Welcome to My Vagina has been affected. Our Camel Toe music video has been flagged and removed from YouTube because apparently it didn't meet their community guidelines. Not only has that video been up for 4 years, but it also does not have what they suggest as nudity. Oh no, I have boobs, and so since they're in this video, they're suggested that they exist. It also suggests that there's pornography and sexually provocative content, which there's not. You can see it on our Instagram account. You be the judge. Fosta-Sesta creates an exception to Section 230, the Communications Decency Act.
What does that even mean?
Well, it used to protect providers from user-generated content. Say you posted something threatening or inappropriate on Facebook, you would have been responsible. Now, Facebook will be responsible.
That doesn't make any sense!
I know. Can't control what the users do. You cannot control what I do on the internet. Oh, wow. Now it holds them accountable for what users do. So much 4chan. What are they gonna get away with? Which means that website publishers will be responsible if third parties post any prostitution ads, or posting anything that could be considered prostitution, like nude photos. I have so many of those. Ryan caught me walking to the bathroom naked yesterday.
Is he okay?
Yeah. He got to see all of it. Discussion of sexual acts. That leaves so much of what I have to talk about off the table. Or cartoon vulvas. What am I supposed to draw? Do you see what I mean by loose now? This. Is this sexual? Because I don't even know anymore. This ultimately drives sex workers back out onto the streets, which is inevitably more dangerous. And not just because of cars and bike messengers and rogue horses. Fosta-Sesta was intended to curb sex trafficking. Did we say that already? We did, but we're gonna remind you. You know what Fosta-Sesta probably won't do? Curb sex trafficking. You know what it also won't do? Keep consensual sex workers safe. What Fosta-Sesta actually does is rip a giant hole, like a gaping asshole, into the governing foundation of the internet.
Have you ever opened a butthole? Yeah, there you go.
Websites are pressured into deleting content whether or not it has anything to do with sex work. At all. If you're thinking, wasn't this supposed to be about sex trafficking? Of course it was. I'm not comfortable with this law. Much like the metaphor of the gaping asshole that I just gave to you, if you loosen up the wording to a law too much, it's hard to control what kind of a shitstorm could happen. If you look around, you can already see the side effects. Google Drives have been disabled for obscene material. Obscene to whom? Reddit closed a number of their subreddits, including escort and sugar daddy. How are we supposed to get that extra 27 cents worth of sugar, daddy? They also removed or severely restricted guns, cannabis, and craft beers. Craft beers? What's so inappropriate about craft beers? What y'all getting so hopped up about? You must be barely satisfied. Yeesh. They disallowed using obscene language on Xbox and Skype, and they say that they can listen in our private conversations to make sure.
Hi, it's the government. We're listening to you on Xbox and Skype. I hope it's okay. Okay, cool.
But under this law, a lot of things could be considered promoting sex trafficking. Guess what? If you watch porn, and I know most of you do, you support sex work. Because why is that okay just because there's a camera and a crew and 2 consenting adults behind closed doors isn't? They're hoping that if they ban everything, they can eradicate sex trafficking. But historically, this type of censorship has never worked. Executive Director of the Freedom Network USA Coalition of Anti-Trafficking Advocates said, "Shutting down every service provider and website will not end sex trafficking. What it will do is push trafficking to overseas websites that are beyond the reach of law enforcement, making it harder to prosecute them and harder to find them through the victims." This is someone who studies the methods of eradicating sex trafficking. Obviously, sex trafficking is horrible and needs to be cracked down on, and in a perfect world, eradicated completely. But as far as consensual sex work, what you do with your body is your choice. How many more people do I have to say that to? As long as you're not hurting anyone, do whatever you want. What's a weird thing you can do with your body? What's a weird thing you can do with your body that's not hurting anybody? Try it out. Yes, there's a discussion about regulating sex work, harder prosecution of Johns, tracking STIs, mental health treatment, managing domestic violence, vulnerable children in unstable homes, toxic masculinity that encourages homicidal behavior, the racial divide among sex workers, financial instability with disenfranchised women, funding sex trafficking task forces, educating law enforcement, abuse education to teachers and caregivers, employee rights in the adult film industry, legislation affecting strip clubs. And yet Fosta-Sesta doesn't address any one of these things. It only addresses what we, as users, post on the internet. Sex workers and sex advocates have been talking about this for months, and now people are just starting to realize how much this is gonna affect us as users. Yikes. How much of our rights are going to be restricted, and how much we're going to be censored. Check your terms of service, check your congressperson, learn who's silencing you, okay? Countdown till when this video gets taken down. 3, 2,